All right, let's get right into it. If you've ever looked at a Java program and wondered, how does this thing actually work? Well, it all boils down to three fundamental building blocks. Get these, and you're well on your way. So, let me ask you this. What do you think are the absolute, non-negotiable, essential components of any program you write?
Well, here they are: variables, types, and keywords. That's it. You can kind of think of them as the DNA of Java, the basic grammar you have to know. Once you get these down, everything else just clicks into place.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll ask, what is a variable? Then, we'll dive into Java's data types. After that, we'll look at the essential rules and keywords, and we'll wrap up with the core takeaways. Let's do it.
Okay, first up, what is a variable? You know, the easiest way to wrap your head around this is with a really simple and, honestly, perfect metaphor: the memory box. Seriously, that's all it is. Just picture a tiny little box somewhere inside your computer's memory. You give that box a name, and you put something inside it, a piece of information, a value that you can come back and use whenever you want. It's just a labeled container. And here's the deal. Every single one of these boxes needs three things. First, you got to tell it the data type. This is like putting a label on the box that says numbers only or text only. Then you need a name for the box so you can find it later. And of course, you need the value, the actual thing you're storing inside. And you know, this is a huge reason why Java is so reliable. It makes you decide the type of the box from the get-go. No guesswork, no surprises down the line. Okay, let's make this real. Look at this line of code. We have int, which is the data type. That tells Java, hey, this box is only for whole numbers. We've named the box age, and what did we put inside? The value 25. See? Type, name, value. It really is that straightforward.
Okay, so we've got our memory box. The next logical question is, what exactly can we put inside these boxes? And that, my friends, leads us right into our next section: Java's data types.
Now, this is absolutely crucial to understand. In Java, all data types fall into one of two buckets. On one side, you have your primitive types, and on the other, you have your non-primitive types, which you'll also hear called reference types. Getting this difference is a real game changer.
So let's talk about primitives first. The best way to think about these, they are literally the atoms of Java. They're the most basic, fundamental pieces of data you can get. You can't break them down into anything smaller, they just are. They hold a single, raw value, and that's their whole job.
So here they are, all 8 of Java's primitive types. You've got your usual suspects like int for whole numbers, double for numbers with decimal points. Then you have Boolean, which is super simple. It's just true or false, nothing else. And char for a single letter or symbol. These 8 are the bedrock, the fundamental ingredients for all data in Java. Okay, so if primitives are the atoms, what happens when you start building molecules, right? That's exactly what non-primitive types are. They're more complex things built from these basic pieces. We're talking about things like string, which holds text, arrays for holding a whole list of items, and of course, classes, which are basically the blueprints for creating any object you can dream up. And here is the key difference, so lean in for this. A non-primitive type like a string is an object. This means its memory box doesn't actually hold the text, hello world. Instead, it holds a reference. Think of it like a sticky note with an address on it, pointing to where the actual hello world object is stored in memory. And because they're objects, they have powers. They can do stuff. You can ask a string its length with .length, or tell it to shout in uppercase with .to uppercase. Your little primitive int can't do any of that. It's just a number. All right, so we've got our boxes, and we know what we can put in them. Now we got to talk about the rules of the game. Let's get into the blueprint for your code, the rules and keywords. So when it's time to name your variables, Java's got a few simple rules you got to follow. You can't start a name with a number, for instance, and you definitely can't use one of Java's special keywords, which we'll get to in a second. But honestly, the most important rule is one you set for yourself. Use good descriptive names. Call it username instead of just you. Trust me on this, your future self or anyone else reading your code will thank you.
Now this is a pretty cool feature in modern Java, the var keyword. It's a fantastic little shortcut. So instead of having to write out int score equals 95, you can just write var score equals 95. The compiler is smart enough to look at the 95 and say, hey, that's a whole number, so score must be an int. It figures it out for you. Now, to be clear, it's not changing the rules. The variable is still strictly an integer. It just saves you some typing and can make your code look a lot cleaner. So I've said the word keyword a few times now. What exactly is one? It's simple.
A keyword is a special, reserved word that the Java compiler already understands. Think of them as being off-limits for you to use as names, because they already have a job to do. They're part of the core language. And you'll recognize a lot of these right away. Words like class, public, static, or if, else, for. Each one of these tells the compiler to do something very specific. They're like the command words of the language, and you just can't use them for your variable names.
And here's a fun fact. As of Java 21, the entire special vocabulary of the language is made up of just 67 keywords. That's it. So yeah, that's exactly why you can't name a variable class or if. The compiler would get totally confused because those words are already on its VIP list.
Okay, let's pull all of this together. Think of this next bit as your Java starter kit, the absolute must-knows to get you going.
So let's recap. 1. A variable is just a box for a value. 2. Every variable has a type, a name, and a value. 3. Java has 8 of those fundamental atom types called primitives. 4. You can use the handy var keyword to let the compiler figure out the type for you. And 5. Keywords are special, reserved words. Don't even think about using them as variable names.
And that's really the heart of it. I don't care if you're building a tiny Hello World app or a massive complex system for a huge company. Every single Java program you will ever write is built on this foundation: variables, types, and keywords. That's the whole shebang.
So there you have it. You've got the Lego bricks. You understand the basic grammar. Now you have the building blocks. So the real question is, what are you going to build first?